Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Rational Thinking. This week we'll be looking at the Brexit party sweeping home in the UK European elections and also the release of the ECB Financial Stability Report. Last week in the UK we saw the results announced for the UK European elections. Nigel Farage's Brexit party swept home with 32% of the vote. The fairly pro-EU Lib Dems came second with 20% of the votes, but what was really noticeable was the government and the Labour Party between them. They had 7% and 14% respectively of that vote, which just goes to show the sort of anger within the voters at the moment with the whole European situation. Outside of that, we then had the Conservative Party leadership race start to hot up with candidates announcing every other day they're running for the position. On the pro-no deal side, the favourite for the running is Boris Johnson, and on the pro-EU side, or the pro-soft deal approach, we have Jeremy Hunt, who's the most likely from that side. Outside of that, Boris Johnson actually suffered a bit of an issue with his actual running, where he's been summoned to court over some of his comments in the referendum. He stands accused of misconduct in a public office. What's more interesting is the effect this will have on his running and whether he's able to actually balance the running for the leadership and also appearing in court to answer to this accusation. Outside of that, car production continued to suffer from the effects of Brexit. Car production in the UK for the last month fell by 44.5%, which is the largest fall in 10 years. We have to go back to the last recession that we suffered in 2008, 2009 for production to be that low. It's a fairly big thing for the UK economy because UK car production actually amounts for 9% of the UK's overall output. This week in the Euro, the big data release came in the form of the Financial Stability Report that was released by the ECB, and within that we saw reports that the Eurozone had had a sustained period of slow growth, and the three major factors behind this was firstly the Brexit tensions that continue to weigh on the Euro and obviously the pound. We had global trade tensions, namely the US and China having an effect on the global economy as a whole. And we also, outside of that and more centric to the Eurozone, we had the weak manufacturing data and just weak data on a whole that's been coming out of Germany, which is obviously the biggest economy in the Eurozone. This week in the Euro, we see lots of data coming out. Firstly, we have the Consumer Price Index for the year-on-year figure, expected to fall from 1.7% to 1.3%. We then have the two GDP data releases, the year-on-year figure coming in at 1.2%, and then we have the quarter-on-quarter figure coming in at 0.2%. Outside of that, we then have the ECB interest rate decision, which we expect to remain at 0%. And then after that, we'll have the press conference and Draghi issuing the monetary policy statement. In the US, we also have a busy week for data. Firstly, we have the ISM manufacturing PMIs expected to come in at 53.3 from a previous figure of 52.8. And then we also have the ISM non-manufacturing PMIs, which we expect to remain at 55.5. Outside of that, we have average hourly earnings for year on year coming in at 3.2%. That's the expected number. And to finish off the week, we have the non-farm payrolls release, where we expect that the job creation is down to 190,000 from a previous figure of 263,000. Thanks for tuning in for this week's edition of Rational Thinking. Please feel free to like and subscribe or share the video. Given the extremely volatile nature of currency markets at the moment, if you have any questions or any queries around your foreign currency requirements, please feel free to get in touch at any time.